Alright, back again with another video on a 4-year-old game. But, as always, it's a good one. Crosscode. This game deserves your attention. Why? Well, I'll get to that. First, let me say that I'm not over-exaggerating when I say the game deserves your attention. Crosscode can best be described as an action RPG. In fact, it says so on the Steam page. So if you're not a big fan of RPGs, then maybe Crosscode isn't for you. But if you are interested, then I'll start explaining the world of Crosscode. Now, when I said this game is an action RPG, I actually meant it's an action RPG within an action RPG. Now, that may sound insane, but let me explain. In the world of Crosscode, the Steam game, there exists a game called, you guessed it, Crosscode. Crosscode is basically an MMO, like World of Warcraft. I think. I'm not a big expert on MMOs. So while you play, you'll just see other players run around and log in and out. Even party members will be logged out sometimes, so you can't use them. Obviously, these aren't actually real players, as in players that bought the game on Steam. No, these players are other players in the real world of Crosscode that have bought and are playing Crosscode. This is really confusing, isn't it? But it's actually really simple, it's just hard to explain. The game itself does a pretty good job at explaining it, so you'll understand it better as you play. Now, let's talk about the gameplay in Crosscode. The gameplay is incredibly fast-paced and incredibly fun at the same time. You basically just punch and shoot at everything you see. You walk with your keyboard and aim with your mouse. That's it? Yes, that's it. If you don't count the freaking elements. That's right, as the game goes on, you'll be able to make your attacks do different kinds of damage. There's your traditional ice and fire, but there's also shock and wave. Each enemy also has a break state. This state basically means that they're very vulnerable to pretty much everything. It's when you'll do the most damage, and different elements make certain enemies get to the break state faster. So there's a bit of experimenting involved there. Obviously, I wouldn't be praising this game so hard if that was it though, would I? No, we've got a skill tree here, people. The thing is though, every element has its own skill tree. And all the elements have their own unique attacks that come with their skill tree. For example, ice has very defensive skills, like a shield, which can be upgraded, and other more defensive long-range based skills. Fire is basically all-out attack, as is expected. Shock and wave are a bit more vague though. Shock is to basically stun enemies / electrify them, and wave is all about knockback. So you can base your fighting on using a specific element. Go ice and wave if you're a defensive fighter, and fire and shock for aggression. Having lots of options is always great in these kinds of games, and luckily Crosscode has a lot of side quests that different playstyles can be tested on. There are your standard quests that can be found in any game, like collecting items and everything, but I'm pretty sure most quests are very unique, like the extra boss quests that have a unique boss at the end, or the quest that continues throughout the game where you help a suspicious man collect varying pieces of armor and weapons. Crosscode isn't all about fighting though. The game requires you to use the different elements to figure out puzzles as well. There are varying kinds of puzzles in the game. Figuring out a specific way to parkour around the area to get an item, for example, appears a lot. But the biggest puzzles are in these very big dungeons. Each dungeon focuses on a different element and makes you use it in certain ways to get through the dungeon. Kind of like The Legend of Zelda. But what is a game without a story? Now let me tell you that this game's story is insane in the best way. I'm not gonna spoil it, but I'll give a basic rundown. You play as Leia. You start logged in Crosscode on a ship made for the staff that works on the game. Here you meet Sergey, somebody not logged into Crosscode but talks to you from outside. He tells you that you've lost your memory and ability to speak due to a system error, and since this happened while you were playing Crosscode, Sergey believes that the clues to figuring out what happened to you are somewhere in this game. So that's your initial goal, to play Crosscode and see if you remember everything. Oh yeah, remember when I told you Leia can't speak? Well, that doesn't mean you're mute. Sergey has been working on fixing your voice in Crosscode, but he's only able to target specific words. Needless to say, this can make conversations between Leia and other characters pretty humorous. Leia is also close to the best character in the game for me. So let's talk about those. Pretty much every character of note that you meet is a player playing Crosscode. And since Crosscode encourages you to socialize, you quickly make a friend. An enemy. This enemy is called Apollo, by the way, and he's without a doubt the best guy in the game. I mean, come on, just listen. So we've gotten the biggest topics out of the way, but let's discuss some tiny things that really make this game even better. First off, just look at it. The pixel art in this game looks so damn good, it's so nice to look at. The music is also great, of course, as I showcased earlier. And the smallest thing that some people might not even notice, but I absolutely adore, is that you aren't the only player just starting to play Crosscode. There are numerous players that you can't even talk to, but you can overhear them. And if you pay attention, these players will keep returning in different areas you'll visit. They are playing the game alongside you. Every time I go somewhere new, I look forward to seeing the girl sitting at a table, or the player that keeps having an extreme fear of heights that keeps cropping up. I know I just talked a lot about this one weird thing, but this is important to me, okay? Let me end this by saying that if you're looking for a very well made RPG to play, this is it. I mean, if I heard that in this game you fight a whale, I would buy it immediately. But that's it for me. Subscribe if you want to hear me ramble on more, and goodbye.